Hey everyone, I'm Ashes,
And I'm Will.
and
And
this
this
is
is
Ashes
Ashes
and
and
Will
Will
Do
Do Disney.
Disney.
Each week, one of us will tell the other the history, facts, and stories behind the rides and attractions of Disney that have made special memories for generations.
Keep in mind that Ashes and Will Do Disney is not affiliated with or employed by the Walt Disney Company, and our views and opinions do not reflect theirs.
Now it's time to sit back, relax, and put on your ears because it's time for Ashes and Will Do Disney. Oh, hey there, Ashes.
Hey. And I'm not tired. You just don't get a babe this time. I said it last time.
Oh, okay, that's fine. That's I think more for Nathan's sake than it is mine. Like I don't take offense when you don't call me babe.
I know. Maybe Nathan just wants me to call him babe.
It probably I was going to make an Animal Farm reference, but then that registered what you said, so that was really funny.
you know.
But we're getting deeper
Anyways,
into Christmas season here.
I know. I am so excited for Christmas. So technically, we're still in November right now while recording. This will be like 2 weeks into Christmas or December, not Christmas. The same thing.
Yeah.
December might as well just be
It's
called
after
Christmas.
Thanksgiving, so it's
It's
all
fine.
Christmas time now.
So I think we're done Christmas shopping. And by
Yeah.
we, I mean me. Like, let's be real.
I
Like,
got stuff for you.
I know.
That's what
And
I
I
do.
got stuff for literally the entire rest of the family.
Yeah.
That's how we roll, and it's fine. I like to shop, so I really actually don't mind it.
It's
But
our dynamic.
it works for us.
It does.
But I think I'm done Christmas shopping, which I think my friend Jessica is the only person who can like truly understand my like anal early shoppingness with, because she's the only other crazy person like me that I know who starts like really Christmas shopping all year, but like gets a majority of it done by like
Yeah.
October-ish. So now we're at the fun part where we just get to wrap Christmas presents and
And watch
watch
Christmas
Christmas
movies.
movies. And to me, that's like really when the Christmas season is like in full swing, because
Yep.
I'm like, I don't mind making wrapping Christmas presents like take a while. Like I have fun making them look pretty, watching my Christmas movies. Like I love that stuff. Now we can just focus on making gingerbread houses and cookies
Yep.
and
I do remember, though, there was one night where we put on a Christmas movie and you were on call
I know, and I
for
got
work.
called in.
You got called in the middle of wrapping presents, and that wasn't the issue.
No, no, no. It was our middle kiddo was still a
She was
baby.
baby.
Yeah, and I got called in, and it wasn't like a, so I work postpartum. So a lot of times when I get called in, it's like we have like this like, nice little 2 hour window of like, okay, this person delivered. I'll need you at this time. Except for we were getting a readmit from the emergency room, and this person was going on mag, so it was like a one-to-one thing. So it was like, cool, hey, I need you now. So I was like,
That was literally a drop whatever you were
yeah,
doing
so
and
I was
get
like,
here.
cool, deuces will bye. And like as soon as I leave, the baby starts crying, and I was like, have fun with all the Christmas presents and the crying baby.
Yeah, all these Christmas presents are sitting in the middle of the floor. The baby's screaming. I
And I
pretty
just
much had
peace
to,
out.
and you just basically had to peace out. And I essentially had to tell our oldest, like, you cannot go to the basement until I say it's okay, because all the stuff was still out.
I mean, she was asleep when we went down there, but
But I
then,
mean, in the morning though, I had to be
yeah,
like, you can't go down because I didn't really have time to do it. It was like 10:30, 11:30 at night,
yeah,
so
it
I
was.
basically just went to bed at that point.
I know. And literally, I remember that night because I got to work and like I legit left right when like they were like, "Hey, we need you." Ran upstairs, changed, and left. Like that was all I could do. And I remember I got to work that night, and the charge nurse who was on that night was like, "Oh, there you are." And I was like, "There I am." I was like, "That was less than 30 minutes."
Yeah,
I'm like, "I have 30 minutes to get here." And I'm pretty sure our drive at that time when we lived at that house was like 7 to 10 minutes.
yeah, we were real close at
And
that
it
point.
definitely did not take me 20 minutes to get out the door.
No,
So I was
you were
like,
ready to go pretty fast.
"Excuse me, there you are." But yes, hopefully we can just enjoy wrapping Christmas presents without me randomly piecing out on you.
Even if you do at this point, though, where we wrap the presents, it's the kids basically don't get to go in there anyways. So
Oh, we also don't have babies anymore,
we don't have
so
babies anymore, so it's real easy. I mean, our middle kid literally comes down the stairs covering her eyes because it puts her in a slight view of my office door, and she knows there's things in there she's not supposed to see. So even when the door is closed, because
there's glass
it's a
doors.
glass door, but it essentially blurs it.
Yeah,
But she still comes down with her hand over her eyes because she doesn't want to accidentally see something.
I know. I love it. It's cute. And what's funny is like there's nothing for her to see right now. Like
No,
I clearly hide the stuff that they're gonna get like in boxes so they can't see
so they
it.
can't see it.
Um,
It's more so
so
the youngest that we have to really put the boundaries on because he'll get into
oh,
stuff.
homeboy doesn't have boundaries, period.
Yeah, hence he's got the real strict, like, you stay out of the office, don't even look at the office.
Yeah, he walks by and things just break.
Yeah,
Like he just has to look at it and just like shatters.
yep, pretty much.
Like I'm waiting for his letter to Hogwarts at this point because clearly like
Unexplainable things happen.
yeah, and that's the only thing that can justify it because I'm like, are all boys like this? It's just magical, like how many things break when he is just in the room.
Yeah,
So, anyways, the moral of the story is I love Christmas and I'm super excited.
yeah, we're getting ready to kick everything off tonight. We watched the Santa Claus the other night. What was that, the day before Thanksgiving we watched that?
Yes, I think
Yeah.
so.
So we watched Santa Claus tonight. We're gonna watch one of my favorites, one I like to watch early, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Yes, super excited.
Yeah,
Kids
me
like
too.
that. We need to watch Elf also,
Yep,
just because that's one of their favorites.
it is. Which you saw it multiple times because I kept falling asleep to it, but I finally did watch the movies that made us on the Elf episode.
I could tell you so much about the history of the movie Elf at this point because I think I watched that episode like probably 5 times while you slept through it.
Because I kept putting it on at bedtime and I'd go to sleep.
So now, just so listeners understand, because we always talk about how I fall asleep during everything. Well, I fall asleep during everything that we put on at like 8 p.m.
Anything before 9 p.m., you
Yeah.
fall asleep.
But again, night shift nurse for the past 5 years. So by the time we like bebop our way upstairs to bed, 11
It's
p.m.,
like 11 at the
midnight,
earliest.
whatever, I'm all perky. I took my nap on the couch. Like, I'm just like, boop, boop, boop.
Whereas I've been at work all day typically and have not taken a nap on the couch.
Yeah. So that's why there's literally a better chance of me staying awake for an entire movie and like actually paying attention to it if you start at like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, which I'll have been asleep for a couple hours at that point.
We put on that first episode of Tiger King the other night in bed, the second season, mind you.
Oh, I didn't last at all for that.
Oh, I know. I thought it was hilarious that you even wanted to start it. And I watched that whole first episode of it. I mean, fully knowing that I get to watch that entire first episode again
Yeah,
next
maybe I'll
time
watch it while you're sleeping during the day.
during the day. Anyways, so do you have something fun for me before I tell you what I have for you?
Always.
Okay,
So,
good.
Christmas time, obviously.
Yeah,
But it's also very well known and documented that we are Halloween people.
we are.
So, I have to do a quiz that's Christmas, but Halloween too.
Oh,
But it's still Christmas themed because it's called Which Sandy Claus Nightmare Before Christmas Gift Would You Actually Get?
I love it. Super stoked. And
Yeah,
if it's something lame, I'm gonna be really mad because I
well, I
feel like
mean,
the last couple ones I've gotten
you've had
lame
some bad
things.
luck,
Yeah.
but they're also based on your answers.
Okay, so you're just calling me lame?
No, not lame. Basic, maybe.
Give me the quiz, won't
All
you?
right. Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas is one of our all time favorites. It's a timeless classic that we can really watch any time of year.
Duh.
Duh. We wish we could visit Halloween Town and join them in their celebration and sing songs with them. If you've ever wanted Sandy Claus to visit you, you probably thought about what toys you would want to bring.
Absolutely.
Well, ask no more. We came up with a fun little quiz to find out what Mr. Claus, spelled Claws, obviously.
I mean, clearly, like for those who have not watched this movie, like I'm disappointed, but
You'd understand it more, though.
yeah.
So we came up with this fun little quiz to find out what Mr. Claus would leave under your tree. But be careful what you wish for. There's nothing ordinary about these gifts.
Ugh, I'm so excited.
So, first question. What's your favorite holiday?
Halloween.
Okay, that's the first one of the choices.
Okay,
We also
good.
have Christmas, Thanksgiving, and Easter.
I do absolutely love Christmas, but I feel like I probably love Christmas Day more than like Halloween Day, but I feel like Halloween is just something that for us is more year round
Yep,
and we have so much more fun with. So I'm gonna pick
I
Halloween.
said Halloween. Who is your favorite Nightmare Before Christmas character?
Ooh.
Mr. Mayor, Lock, Shock, and Barrel, Zero, or Sally?
Ah, oh my gosh, this is hard. At first, I was like, I have to pick Lock, Shock, and Barrel because those are our kids. And then you said Zero, and I was like, oh my God, that's my puppy.
Well,
I
I said Lock, Shock, and Barrel because it's our kids
know, but I think
who always take precedence over our puppy.
I'm gonna pick Zero. Because
Okay.
in the movie, Lock, Stock, and Barrel are buttheads.
No, I mean, so are our kids, but we love them.
I know, but they're better in real life than in the movie.
Okay.
And in the movie, I mean, I love my Zero.
Okay.
I picked Zero. Sorry, children. Love you guys.
What is your favorite Nightmare Before Christmas song? This is Halloween. What's this? Making Christmas or Sally's song?
Oh my God. They're all amazing. Sally's song.
Okay, I said Making Christmas.
They're all good.
They're
I
all
mean,
good.
honestly, there's not a wrong choice there.
But I like Making Christmas. For me, it's because they're putting their Halloween twist on Christmas. And plus, Rise Against covered it on the Nightmare Revisited soundtrack, and they're one of
Oh
my
God,
favorite
that whole
bands.
soundtrack was amazing.
Yeah, it was. All right, pick a color: red,
Black.
black, green, or purple.
Black.
Obviously, I said that too. Pick a reindeer: Dasher, Rudolph, Prancer, or Cupid.
Oh, I was hoping Comet would be a
You know,
choice.
but he's
Wait,
not.
I stopped listening. Can you tell me again?
Dasher, Rudolph, Prancer, or Cupid.
Rudolph.
Okay, I said Dasher. That's our first different answer.
No, it's not. You picked the children. I
Oh
picked the
yeah, I did
dog.
too. And I picked no. Wow, yeah, no, it's several different answers actually.
I know, we're getting different Christmas presents.
What's your favorite ingredient? Wormswort, deadly nightshade, frog's breath, or witch hazel?
Deadly Nightshade.
I said frog's breath.
Ew.
What is your favorite decoration? An oversized sock, tinsel, pumpkins, or spider webs?
Tinsel.
I said pumpkins
I mean,
because
what else?
we've talked about that.
You
That's my
like, I know you like your
I carve it.
pumpkins.
And
I do the Christmas tree, so I pick tinsel. It's
okay.
fine.
What's your favorite treat? Candy cane, candy corn, gingerbread, or chocolate?
Um, I'll pick chocolate. I do
I
love
said
candy
chocolate.
corn, and I know you hate it, but I love it.
That's because it's terrible.
It is not loser candy. Thank
It's
you very
absolutely
much.
loser candy.
If
It's
you
up there
guys
with
don't watch
circus
Gravity
peanuts.
Falls, you need to watch Gravity Falls. Uh, I'm sorry, but I also love those like stupid. Do you remember when you were a kid and they had those ones that were wrapped in like orange or black wax paper and it was like peanut butter taffy?
Oh yes, yes.
I haven't seen them in like
Those I
years and
actually
years and
did
years,
like.
and those things were so good.
Yes, I agree. Those I actually did like. What do you want to dress up as for Halloween? Mummy, witch, ghost, or vampire?
A witch.
Okay, I said ghost.
I mean, clearly.
All right, so you get the snake.
Ew, why do I always get such bad
Because your
answers, Will? I'm
answers.
so mad.
Hide your other presents. He has an appetite, and it's got a picture of the orange snake
I
eating the
know. I
tree.
bought that orange snake for Zero to play with.
You did. You did. And
I
now,
really wanted the evil teddy or the duck.
guess what? I get both of those.
Okay, we're not even friends anymore.
You get the scary, for me, you get the scary teddy and duck toy. Good
Ah,
news, you get two gifts. Bad news, they're both evil.
and I get the stupid snake. I'm gonna need you to pick better quizzes.
I'm going to need you to just pick better answers.
I don't know
Actually,
if I
I don't
like you
need you to pick
anymore.
better answers because I got good presents. You didn't like your present. You need you to pick better answers.
This is the end of us, William.
The final episode of Ashes and Will Do Disney.
The end. Oh, I feel so disappointed. It's like Ariel all over again.
Well, that's
Okay,
that's like
definitely not as bad as Ariel, but
that's also like 3 quizzes in a row too that you've gotten something you don't want.
I'm really sad because I have so much fun doing these quizzes. Like I feel like I'm like a teenage girl again, like filling out the like, which boy would you kiss quiz, but it's like more fun and like better related to my life. And
And
I
you're just
hate every
disappointed with
answer
the
I get.
results.
I wonder what the other toy options were.
Maybe the Bat Hat.
I mean, that'd be a little bit lame. I just like literally I just truly despise snakes more than any other
They had
thing
the
in the world.
pumpkin or the jack-o'-lantern Jack in the Box.
Oh, I like that. I would have been fine with that.
Yeah, the wreath that we actually have, the monster wreath that we actually have on our front door.
Yeah, I like that. I
That we
mean,
use as a Halloween and a Christmas decoration.
I really wanted the evil Teddy and the duck.
Well, I get those, and maybe I'll share.
Hmm.
So why don't you cheer yourself up and tell me something Disney Christmas?
You're lucky that this just happens to be one of my most favorite things in the world that I'm talking about. So maybe we'll stay together and make more
All
episodes.
right, let's see what you got.
Before I start, I just want to dedicate this episode to little Miss Emma, who we're missing her birthday party this weekend because I have to work both
Okay.
Saturday and Sunday night, and I feel super bad about it. And her birthday was supposed to be last weekend, and we were also supposed to go, but then I ended up picking up a shift because we were super short, and I just feel really bad because we haven't been able to go celebrate her birthday, and our two little ones have such a fun time playing with her. So this one's for you, Emma. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Emma.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure you know what I did. Do you know?
I mean, I have an idea. It might be Nightmare Before
It
Christmas.
is Nightmare Before
How
Christmas.
about that? Because you were concerned that I was going to do Nightmare Before Christmas before you
Okay, I actually wasn't concerned about it at all
until Sonia
until
ran her mouth.
Sonia, yeah, ran her mouth at work and was like, "What if Will did the same thing as you?" And I was like,
Little does she know, I have the common sense to know who my wife is and know that she wanted to do that, so I stayed away from it.
"Oh, also, Sonia's mad at you because you don't mention her in your episodes."
How often do I hang out with Sonia?
Well, she wants you to talk about her every time.
I mean, then she needs to be relevant every time. Ooh,
Okay, well, ouch.
yeah, there's a little bit of truth serum.
Ouch. She's my other spouse. I need you to be nice to her.
I'm sure when I do some Marvel stuff, I'll talk about her because she's the person I can talk to Marvel about.
Yeah, I got nothing unless it's Deadpool. Anyways,
Anyways, Nightmare
Nightmare
Before
Before
Christmas.
Christmas. Okay, so Nightmare Before Christmas actually started as a poem written by Tim Burton all the way back in 1982.
Mhm.
So you were all of,
Just
0 years
born.
old.
Yeah. If I was born at that point when you wrote it.
Yep. And yeah, it was well before I was even born that this really started.
Yep.
And I do love me some Nightmare Before Christmas. So, ironically, to talk about Sonia again, because I was at work last night when I was writing this episode, and Sonia always sits there and is like, "What's your episode about? What's it going to be about?" And I'm like, "I'm not going to tell you just because I like to be annoying like that." And she's like, "Well, I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to find out." And I'm like, "I know."
I'm a
And then I
little
just leave her
more
hanging.
I'm a little more quick to tell people. Like when we did Star Wars, like I told people, I'm like, this is when episode 1 of Star Wars is coming out, then this is part 2, then this is part 3. Like I tell people what it's gonna be.
I mean, I just like to watch her like squirm a little bit, and it's fun.
Yeah, you know.
But Alex saw what I was writing about, so Sonia knew what I was doing. And then Sonia's take on this movie, The Nightmare Before Christmas, was that it was basically a movie about how to kill your husband.
What?
Yeah, that wasn't quite the message I got from the movie.
No.
But she's like, yeah, because all Sally does is, drug that guy, and we should just see how many times
That's
she
not her
drugs him.
husband, though. That's
I
like her
know,
captor.
but
Like,
apparently she's learning how to kill her husband that, she doesn't have, but
she doesn't poison him. She just gives him sleepy stuff. It's like grinding up Benadryl and putting it in.
Sonia doesn't need any more ideas, okay?
Okay.
So, and then my friend Jessica just straight up was like, I don't understand what's happening in this movie.
That's a pretty basic concept.
Well, she didn't get it.
Okay.
So I figured we could talk about it, and then I'm going to need Jessica to go back and watch it. And anyone else who hasn't either seen it, or who doesn't get it, or maybe thinks it's about how to murder your husband.
Because it's not.
It's not. I figure if we talk about it, then all those people can go back and rewatch this movie with a little bit more clarity.
Okay.
So I know you are going to know a lot of what I say, but I'm hoping I found a few fun facts that you don't know.
Sure.
And I don't think a lot of our listeners know everything about Nightmare Before Christmas like you and I do.
Probably not.
So for those who don't know, like Nightmare Before Christmas, Jack and Sally were our wedding cake topper.
Yep.
We had the quote from Nightmare Before Christmas on our wedding invitations.
The Simply Meant to Be.
Yep. And I feel like this movie has generally played a big part of our lives we got married in 2006.
Yep.
So
we played the soundtrack during the reception dinner.
Yep. You have, 2 Nightmare Before Christmas tattoos?
I have Jack and Sally on my chest, and then I have a big sleeve on my leg that has 0, Lock, Shock, and Barrel, Oogie Boogie, Jack and Sally, which essentially turned into a big family portrait, essentially.
I know. I love it. So...
Yeah.
For our next cruise, it's a Halloween cruise. We're going to be Jack and Sally. The kids are Lock, Shock, and Barrel. This is just such a huge part of our lives.
Yep. And it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Not at all. So, most people get a little bit confused and think that Tim Burton was the director of this movie, which, rightfully so. It literally says Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas.
That's because he wrote it.
It was because he wrote the poem that it was based on, and he was a producer.
Yep.
He was not the director.
He was not.
The director was Henry Selick, and it was actually his directorial debut.
Correct.
So...
Well, I always think it's funny, too, because when Coraline came out, Henry Selick directed Coraline.
Yes.
So it was, to hype that up, it was very much...
From the
director of The Nightmare Before Christmas, and everybody was like, Tim Burton has a new movie coming out. No, he doesn't. Henry Selick has a new movie coming out.
Which you can tell that clearly Henry Selick worked closely with Tim Burton because the look of Coraline is very much in line with Nightmare Before Christmas. So during The Nightmare Before Christmas, while this movie was being made, Tim Burton was actually off working as the director of Batman Returns.
Wonderful Christmas movie.
Wonderful Christmas movie.
It's actually probably my favorite Batman movie.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I don't really know anything about any of the Batman movies. I vaguely remember seeing Catwoman kind of with my dad when I was a kid. And I just remember being super traumatized by Joker in the Moon and being a little kid and legit being up in the middle of the night staring at my ceiling, seeing the moon with Joker's face in it. And there was the creepy penguin. So
it was Danny DeVito.
Okay, well, it was terrifying.
Just the start of him grabbing his 4-foot-tall top hat for Tim Burton movies.
Terrifying. So Tim Burton was a producer on this film. And he really did have a lot of input on the vision of it, the styling of it. But one source that I found said that he literally spent maybe 3 days total on the set.
Yep.
And mind you, they literally spent 3 years making this film. So, it's one of those he had a big influence, but it wasn't his baby. It's his baby, but not his baby.
It was his baby that he gave up to someone else because he was working on a different movie.
Yeah, which, I guess Batman Returns was big, but let's be real, which movie is still big today?
Right. Well, it's got that Disney money.
Well, yeah, because it's amazing. But they put Tim Burton's name on it because even back then in the 90s, like, Tim Burton had a name for
He had a
himself.
name.
So they figured that if they put Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas, people would be like, oh, I like Tim Burton. I guess I'll go see that movie.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how his name ended up there, because originally it was just going to be The
The
Nightmare
Nightmare
Before
Before
Christmas.
Christmas.
So putting Tim Burton on there was to help gain a little bit of interest.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Now I know you saw a lot of this, like some of this stuff in the Christmas movies that made us on Netflix.
Yeah.
Which I watched. Again, I watched that episode like 5 times. Phenomenal episode, by the way.
Should have made it real easy for your episode here.
But I tried to venture out of that.
Yeah.
So, if anyone has Netflix and they have not seen the Christmas movies that made us episode about the Nightmare Before Christmas, it is amazing.
That's definitely worth the watch. That's a good one.
So, I kind of wanted to dive into a little bit of like that original poem. So, Tim Burton's original poem really only had 3 characters in it: Jack, Zero, and Santa Claus. And it kind of mentioned Lock, Shock, and Barrel, but just not by name. And Tim Burton originally pitched this poem to Disney as a stop-motion feature in 1983. He figured it would just be like a little TV special, like one of those like 30-minute gigs, something like that. But it didn't really come to fruition at that point. So it just kind of got put on the back burner for a while. The poem itself was inspired by the fact that Tim Burton grew up in California. Now, the weather in California doesn't exactly change like it does in other parts of the country.
Yeah.
Like, when you're in California, the palm trees don't lose their leaves, and it doesn't start to snow and anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So really, the only, like, visual change of the seasons that you get is the department stores change their decorations. Yep. And nowadays, I feel like department stores and a lot of places are really good at, like, legit overnight, like, wiping out one holiday and putting out the other the next day.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, gosh, the 80s were, you know,
a little bit different.
Technically almost 40 years. Like, they were 40 years ago. Yeah. Like, it didn't always work that way. So when Burton grew up, he would see this overlapping of holiday, like Halloween decorations being out and Christmas decorations being out. And that kind of started this whole thought process of where his inspiration came. Mm-hmm. So I have the poem that The Nightmare Before Christmas was based on.
Sweet.
And I wanted to read it to you because I think it gives you a nice, like, setup of kind of where this came from.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so it was late one fall in Halloween land, and the air had quite a chill. Against the moon a skeleton sat, alone upon a hill. He was tall and thin, with a bat bow tie. Jack Skellington was his name. He was tired and bored in Halloween land. Everything was always the same. I'm sick of scaring, the terror, the fright. I'm tired of being something that goes bump in the night. I'm bored with leering my horrible glances, and my feet hurt from dancing those skeleton dances. I don't like graveyards, and I need something new. There must be something more to life than just yelling boo. Then out from a grave with a curl and a twist came a whimpering, whining, spectral mist. It was a little ghost dog with a faint little bark and a jack-o'-lantern nose that glowed in the dark. It was Jack's dog Zero, the best friend he had, but Jack had hardly noticed, which made Zero sad. All that night and through the next day, Jack wandered and walked. He was filled with dismay. Then deep in the forest, just before night, Jack came upon an amazing sight. Not 20 feet from the spot where he stood were 3 massive doorways carved in wood. He stood before them completely in awe, his gaze transfixed by one special door. Entranced and excited, with a slight sense of worry, Jack opened the door to a white, windy flurry. Jack didn't know it, but he'd fallen down, in the middle of a place called Christmas Town. Immersed in the light, Jack was no longer haunted. He had finally found the feeling he wanted. And so that his friends wouldn't think him a liar, he took the present-filled stockings that hung by the fire. He took candy and toys that were stacked on the shelves, and a picture of Santa with all of his elves. He took lights and ornaments and the star from the tree, and from the Christmas town sign he took the big letter C. He picked up everything that sparkled or glowed. He even picked up a handful of snow. He grabbed it all, and without being seen, he took it all back to Halloween. Back in Halloween, a group of Jack's peers stared in amazement at his Christmas souvenirs. For this wondrous vision, none were prepared. Most were excited, though few were quite scared. For the next few days, while it lightened and thundered, Jack sat alone and obsessively wondered, why is it they get to spread laughter and cheer, while we stalk the graveyard spreading panic and fear? Well, I could be Santa and I could spread cheer. Why does he get to do it year after year? Outraged by injustice, Jack thought and he thought. Then he got an idea. Yes, yes, why not? In Christmas Town, Santa was making some toys, when through the din he heard a soft noise. He answered the door, and to his surprise, he saw weird little creatures in strange disguise. They were altogether ugly and rather petite. As they opened their sacks, they yelled, "Trick or treat!" Then a confused Santa was shoved into a sack and taken to Halloween to see Mastermind Jack. In Halloween, everyone gathered once more, for they'd never seen a Santa before. And as they cautiously gazed at this strange old man, Jack related to Santa his masterful plan. "Dear Mr. Claus, I think it's a crime that you've got to be Santa all of the time. But now I will give presents and I will spread cheer. We're changing places. I'm Santa this year. It is I who will say Merry Christmas to you, so you may lay in my coffin, creak doors, and yell boo. And please, Mr. Claus, don't think ill of my plan, for I'll do the best Santa job that I can." And though Jack and his friends thought they'd do a good job, their idea of Christmas was still quite macabre. They were packed up and ready on Christmas Eve day when Jack hitched his reindeer to the sleek coffin sleigh. But on Christmas Eve, as they were about to begin, a Halloween fog rolled in. Jack said, "We can't leave. This fog's just too thick. There will be no Christmas, and I can't be St. Nick." Then a small glowing light pierced through the fog. What could it be? It was Zero, Jack's dog. Jack said, "Zero, with your nose so bright, won't you guide my sleigh tonight?" And to be so needed was Zero's great dream. So he joyously flew to the head of the team. As the skeleton sleigh started its ghostly flight, Jack cackled, "Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night." 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house not a creature was peaceful, not even a mouse. The stockings all hung by the chimney with care. When I opened that morning would cause quite a scare. The children all nestled so snug in their beds would have nightmares of monsters and skeleton heads. The moon that hung over the new fallen snow cast an eerie pale over the city below. And Santa Claus' laughter now sounded like groans, and the jingling bells like chattering bones. And what to their wondering eyes should appear but a coffin sleigh with skeleton deer, and a skeletal driver so ugly and sick, they knew in a moment, this can't be St. Nick. From house to house, with a true sense of joy, Jack happily issued each present and toy. From rooftop to rooftop he jumped and he skipped, leaving presents that seemed to be straight from a crypt. Unaware that the world was in panic and fear, Jack merrily spread his own brand of cheer. He visited the house of Susie and Dave. They got a Gumby and Pokey from the grave. Then on to the home of little Jane Neiman. She got a baby doll possessed by a demon. A monstrous train with tentacle tracks, a ghoulish puppet wielding an axe, a man-eating plant disguised as a wreath, and a vampire teddy with very sharp teeth. There were screams of terror, but Jack didn't hear it. He was much too involved with his own Christmas spirit. Jack finally looked down from his dark starry frights and saw the commotion, the noise, and the light. Why, they're celebrating! It looks like such fun! They're thanking me for the job that I've done. But what he thought were fireworks meant as goodwill were bullets and missiles intended to kill. Then amidst the barrage of artillery fire, Jack urged Zero to go higher and higher, and away they all flew like a storm of a thistle until they were hit by a well-guided missile. And as they fell on the cemetery way out of sight, was heard, "Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night." Jack pulled himself up on a large stone cross, and from there he reviewed his incredible loss. I thought I could be Santa, I had such belief. Jack was confused and filled with great grief. Not knowing where to turn, he looked towards the sky, then he slumped on the grave and he started to cry. And as Zero and Jack lay crumpled on the ground, they suddenly heard a familiar sound. "My dear Jack," said Santa, "I applaud your intent. I know wreaking such a havoc was not what you meant. And so you are sad and feeling quite blue, but taking over Christmas was the wrong thing to do. I hope you realize Halloween's the right place for you. There's a lot more, Jack, that I'd like to say, but now I must hurry, for it's almost Christmas Day." Then he jumped in his sleigh with a wink of an eye. He said, "Merry Christmas," and bid him goodbye. Back home Jack was sad, but then like a dream, Santa brought Christmas to the land of Halloween. So that was his poem that it was kind of based on.
Which, I mean, is pretty close to a lot of what happens in the movie. Santa's a little bit nicer at the end of this poem than he is at the end of the movie.
Kind of, but we're actually going to talk about that a little bit more.
Okay.
So, yes, I do think overall Santa is quite the lovely, nice, like, forgiving gent there. But it is really cool reading that poem. You can see legit where
the crossovers.
A lot of, like, the movie was legit taken straight from the poem.
Yeah.
So animating this movie began before the script was actually finalized. And by finalized, I mean legit before there was a script at all.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So the musical sequences were actually finished before there was even a story. So composer Danny Elfman wrote the songs for The Nightmare Before Christmas before he really had anything to go off to. He would write the songs after Tim Burton kind of described bits and pieces of the story to him. And Elfman was like, cool. Like Tim Burton would show him some sketches and drawings and he would tell him the story. And then Danny Elfman would be like, yeah, cool, I got it. And then like 3 days later, Elfman would have a song. Mm-hmm. So Danny Elfman said it was the easiest job he ever had, was writing all the songs for Jack and for The Nightmare Before Christmas. So he would kind of go back and forth with Burton to like, you know, make the song, edit the songs kind of until they were both satisfied. And then at that point, they had all the songs. So that's what they kind of sent off to the studios to start producing. But then they actually needed a script for the story for the whole entire rest of it. So there was there was some mishaps of writing the script, but in the end, it ended up being Caroline Thompson, who's actually Danny Elfman's longtime girlfriend at the time,
Mm-hmm.
who was the one to finish writing off the script. So she kind of brought all of the finishing pieces.
Right.
So what she really brought to life too was Sally
Sally.
and all the other characters, because the songs focus a lot on Jack, but there needed to be more in this story than just Jack. And what I love about Danny Elfman and Caroline Thompson is how much Danny Elfman related to Jack's character.
Yep.
Because Danny Elfman at that time was, the lead singer in Oingo Boingo.
Sure was.
And he felt very like he was just kind of ready to move on from that part of his life, but then what was he supposed to do with his life? And then Caroline Thompson very much so related to Sally and put a lot of herself in Sally, and watching, like her significant other struggle and like stuff like that. So I just love how much it was such like a personal story, and you can tell that they were so personal with it, and that it comes across. It's a great story. Elfman became so attached to the character Jack that he was pretty much like looked at Tim Burton. He's like, so can I just, this is just me, right? Like, I'm just gonna have this part. And Tim Burton was like, yeah, whatever, you can be Jack, it's fine. Except for the fact that Danny Elfman as the talking voice for Jack did not quite work out so well.
He can sing, because that's what he did for a living.
But his speaking parts just fell flat, and it just wasn't working. So even once the film was done, Danny Elfman still did the singing roles for Jack, but the speaking role was actually given to Chris Sheridan, which I never knew this.
Sheridan or Sarandon?
Yeah, that guy.
Chris Sarandon?
Yeah. Sarandon. Yes, that one. I never knew that it was two different voices, like when I was young watching this.
No, as a kid I had no clue.
You can't tell at all. I mean, I think it's amazing. Danny Elfman, however, in addition to doing Jack's singing voice, was also Barrel of Lock, Shock, and Barrel. He was that voice, and he was also the clown with the tearaway face. So, Danny...
Oh, I did not know he was the clown with the tearaway face.
See, there we go. I got one fun fact for you.
Yeah.
So clearly Danny Elfman was very, involved and very attached to this.
Mm-hmm.
And he still got to have, himself be quite involved with it.
Yes.
So this film took 3 years to make, with a full week was needed to complete about 1 minute of the movie, which, God bless every single human that worked on this film. I cannot imagine spending an entire week to make 1 minute.
I mean, they could have done like Gravity Falls and just used dark magic instead of stop motion.
They probably would have taken them less time.
Yeah.
So, in total, there was about, it says about, but then it gives a really specific number, which I loved. 103,440 frames in total. And then I saw another source said over or around 110,000 frames. That's over 100,000 individual pictures that were taken for this film, which is just mind-boggling.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and there were actually several fully animated segments which were cut out for different reasons.
Sure.
Which is also really depressing, because I'm like, that's weeks of your lives that just
gone.
Yeah, didn't work out. There were 19 sound stages, 230 sets, 8 camera crews, and there was over 100 individual crew members working on the film. However, only about 13 of them were actually the animators tasked with physically moving, the puppets.
Sure. And
each puppet would be moved 24 times per 1 second of animation. So to take 24 pictures just to make 1 second of animation, like, I'm just blown away by the patience that these
Uh-huh.
people had.
It's a
Like,
lot.
that is some dedication, and I barely have the attention to, like, sit down and focus on something for, like, more than 2 minutes sometimes.
Yeah.
So I'm blown away by it. Every puppet in this film was hand sculpted. Like, they assembled it, detailed it, dressed it, all by hand, everything. 60 characters total, and there was like 3 to 4 duplicates of each of them.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of work just to even get to that point where they
Just to
could
make
start.
the sculptures.
Yeah. And this was filmed in the early 90s. So technology was a bit more limited back then
Yeah.
than what we have now. So animators could only see whether a frame was incorrect upon receiving a portion back from processing. So they would take these pictures, send it off to processing, and even if one single frame was off, they had to redo the entire scene or
Start over.
sequence. Yeah. And again, like, I can't imagine the, like, disappointment when you're like, cool,
Weeks and weeks of work
the
to get a
last
couple
month of
minutes.
my life was for nothing and we have to do it over again.
Start it all over.
Yeah. So, a couple of fun facts with it. So, a lot of people, there's so many amazing little small details in this film that people don't even, like, realize are as amazing as what you'd think. So, one of the small little things is, like, Santa Claus's little naughty or nice list is actually, like, it's actual, like, legit paper, but in order to make it so they could actually, like, move it a little bit between scenes, is it's 2 sheets of paper with a piece of aluminum foil in between it, which gave it that flexibility to be molded and shaped whenever needed.
Okay.
And I just thought that was really cool.
That's neat. Fun little effect.
One slightly terrifying thing. So all this was getting sent to Disney, like everything had to be like sent to Disney, approved by Disney.
Yeah, of course.
Even though we know originally the film was not released under Disney's name, it was released under Touchstone because they thought it'd be too scary as a Disney movie.
Yeah, they were watching it and realized it wasn't necessarily a film for kids. Even
Yeah.
kids today love it.
But... Although nowadays Disney's like, excuse me, yep, that one's ours.
That's
yep,
ours.
We did, that was ours. Yep.
When they started releasing it in 3D every year in the movie theater for Halloween, that's when Disney was like, yes, this is ours. We
yes.
did it.
Yes, this was our movie.
It's always been ours.
Yeah. It just cracks me up.
It cracks me up too. Once it got that cult following is when Disney was like, actually,
by the way,
we did produce this movie.
This one was ours.
Yeah.
You're welcome. But, so everything goes to Disney to be like, get the okay. And Disney was very big on, like, one of the first rules of animation is to have expressive eyes, basically. Like, in order to give life to characters, like, you had to have their eyes be what showed so much expression. So originally, the bigwigs at Disney wanted to put eyeballs in Jack's eye sockets.
Oh my god, that would have been horrifying.
Which, I'm not gonna lie, I saw a couple pictures of Jack with eyeballs and, like, hello nightmares.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
I'm looking it up now.
I was like, please do, because I was like, Tim Burton was a solid, and Henry Selick, the director, were like, no. Like,
he's a skeleton. He doesn't have to have eyeballs.
I mean, they put their foot down, but...
Oh my gosh.
Legit, looking at Jack Skellington with eyeballs in his eye sockets, I'm like, this is what nightmares are made of.
Yeah, you can't do that.
You'll have to post a picture when we release this episode, because it is legit terrifying.
That takes him from being skeleton to, like, he's a zombie, essentially. Like, he's undead at that point.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
Straight up.
He's
like,
not a fully decomposed
awful.
body
So,
at that point.
But with eyeballs. And there's, like, no skin to hold the eyeballs in, so it's just like...
It's literally just like, yeah, looking at the picture, it's literally just eyeballs in a black socket.
Yeah. Nightmares. Awful.
No, that was the right call not to put eyeballs.
Yeah. So Jack's suit was originally all black, but then they changed it. Henry Selick was the one to make the final call to change it to make it the pinstriped.
Good call.
Because everything was so black and dark in the set that Jack needed to pop and stand out just a little bit more.
He
So
needed
that's
some
where,
contrast.
yeah, that's where the pinstripes came through. Jack has had cameos in a good chunk of other movies. Biggest one is like that a lot of people know is James and the Giant Peach.
Yep, he was on the pirate ship. He's
Yeah.
the captain.
However, it is also mentioned that he has cameos in Beetlejuice, which I'm not quite sure how that one happened because I'm pretty sure Beetlejuice came out before.
That was before, yeah.
Like I need to I didn't have a chance to really look these up. You can go for it.
Yeah, keep talking. I'll see
Beetlejuice, Coraline, which again I don't quite understand. Sleepy Hollow, again don't understand.
Well, Sleepy Hollow is a Tim Burton one that came out after.
Well, a lot of these are. Beetlejuice is Tim Burton.
Well, yeah,
Coraline
was before,
Henry Selick, which was after this movie, so I get it. Sleepy Hollow, again Tim Burton. Edward Scissorhands, Tim Burton. Alice in Wonderland, again I'm assuming that's the Tim Burton version that they're talking about. And even The Princess and the Frog.
Okay. So, I'm looking at the picture from Beetlejuice.
Of Jack and Beetlejuice?
Yeah, I mean, it's a skeleton head. It does look similar to Jack, and it has a bat coming out of it, but...
I mean, in all fairness, it's all Tim Burton, so I totally...
I wouldn't necessarily say that's a Jack cameo, though, because I don't know if that was Jack at the time.
Specifically, yeah. But
I
definitely James and the Giant Peach, which Henry Selick worked on James and the Giant Peach, so...
I'm looking up The Princess and the Frog one, because that's my favorite movie.
Oh, I know.
Disney, and I've
you
never
and
seen that.
Tiana got a thing going on.
We do.
So...
Oh, okay.
Is it legit?
Yeah, kind of. He's one of the shadow people.
Oh, okay. I'll take it.
I can see it.
Okay.
Again, I don't know if it's intended to be Jack, though. It looks pretty close, though.
I mean, it's Disney. Disney loves to put those Easter eggs in their films.
Of course they do, yeah. So, it could very well be. I just don't know if...
An ode to Jack.
It might have been more of an ode than an actual cameo.
So, when the mayor goes to Jack's house to discuss plans for next Halloween, he becomes increasingly agitated when Jack doesn't answer the door. Mm-hmm. And at that point, he exclaims, he goes, "I'm only an elected official here. I can't make decisions by myself."
Yep.
And
one
more
of my favorite
so,
lines in the movie.
Yeah, it was just the political satire they make is phenomenal, because then that combined with the fact that the mayor is literally two-faced,
yes,
just adds that nice little bit of they love to play and have fun.
Yeah.
Which, not necessarily a fun fact, it's pretty obvious, but I just think it's hilarious to point out. When the mayor gives the speech for Jack before Jack flies off to Christmastown, he's holding a piece of parchment in his paper in his hands, and if you look really closely at it, you can see that the speech is actually written out word for word on the paper.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's how detailed it was.
That's how authentic and
detailed it was. Literally
not
what...
just scribbly
It's
lines.
not just scribbles, it's actually what he's saying is written out.
Oh, wow.
With the movie as big as it is, I think it's pretty... everyone's obviously okay, cool, why doesn't Disney have a ride of this? They literally are paying money for the Tower of Terror just to have the rights for that and stuff like this, when they've got this phenomenal movie that is so popular just sitting here without a ride of its own.
Yeah.
But Tim Burton was never down to have a ride for it. He's never been on board, and I don't know why Disney hasn't pushed it more. I don't know if they if they ever change the OG Tower of Terror down in Florida, the only thing I feel that would make it acceptable is if they took more of a Nightmare Before Christmas.
And they sell Nightmare Before Christmas merchandise in the Tower of Terror gift shop.
Yeah, exactly. That's where we bought the Oogie that sits on our
Oogie
bed.
Boogie that we've got.
Although in Disneyland, as you know, each fall, so Halloween and Christmas season, they do transform Haunted Mansion into like Nightmare Before Christmas
The
scenes
haunted
as well.
holiday, yeah.
Yes, which we've yet to see,
I
and
know.
one day
One day we're gonna make it out
it
there.
will happen.
We're gonna do a Halloween in California instead of Florida.
It'll happen. So, Catherine O'Hara voiced Sally, which I know you know,
Yep.
but I just love her so much, so
Oh,
I
she's
just had to
great.
throw it in here. She was also in Beetlejuice. She was also the voice of Shock.
Yep.
And she's in Schitt's Creek, so,
Yep.
has nothing to do with Disney. I just love her. So, had to throw that one
Yeah. She's
out
funny.
there.
She's great.
That woman is truly amazing.
Yep.
I adore her.
Just Mrs. McAllister, Home Alone.
Yep, exactly. See, she's had such a awesome career.
She's done a lot.
Yeah, truly. So we talked about a little bit how Disney loves to put in their little like hidden Mickeys and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So do you know where their hidden Mickey is in Nightmare Before Christmas?
I used to, but not now.
So in the Nightmare Before Christmas, so the kids that get, those lucky other jerks who get the vampire teddy and the duck that I don't get.
Like me?
Yeah, you. So the girl has Mickey Mouse on her pajamas, and the boy has Donald Duck on his pajamas.
That's right. I do remember that now.
Yep. So at the box office, A Nightmare Before Christmas was just kind of a modest success to start. In all fairness, though, it didn't have the budget that like Aladdin or Beauty and the Beast had. They made this movie for only $18 million.
Yeah.
And so budgeted for $18 million. And on its first run through the movie theaters, it brought in $50 million, which, I mean, to me seems like a pretty darn good job.
Oh, for what it was, too. And
yeah.
The time,
now,
the year that it came out.
Now, if you add in all the other times Nightmare Before Christmas has been re-released in theaters, because it's been re-released plenty of times in theaters.
Well, yeah, we used to make it a date night when they were re-releasing it for Halloween.
Yeah, 3D. Like every year. It's closer to like $92-ish million that it's brought in through the theaters.
Yeah.
So that alone is such like an amazing return on it. So there is one scene in this film, though, that the director, Henry Selick, actually regrets a little bit. At the end of the movie, when like Christmas comes to Halloween Town, and you can see the vampires playing hockey, and they hit a puck right at the camera. Mm-hmm. You know the scene that I'm talking about, right? Yeah. So it's the puck that they use is a pumpkin. Well, originally they did that scene, and the puck was actually Tim Burton's head.
Huh.
So they thought it was funny, but they got a little scared, and they're like, oh no, I don't know if Tim's going to like that. And Henry Selick totally regrets, like, not just asking.
Tim's head.
Well, no, it's not even not doing it. He regrets, like, not even being like, hey, Tim, by the way, can we, like, legit just put your head in here?
Just not asking him.
Yeah, like, they just never asked. They just cut it and never even mentioned it to Tim Burton. What I think was funny, though, is because, again, Tim Burton was part of this film, but not part of this film. Right. So every one of these, the crew that worked on this spent like 3 years working on it and really never saw Tim Burton once.
Yeah.
Right? Or maybe just a couple times.
When he put his foot through the wall.
And then he did. He put his foot through the wall one time when he was up there, and that was because they were trying to argue about how they wanted the movie to end. So there was a couple different ways the movie was thought to end, maybe. So one storyboard showed a longer confrontation between Jack and Oogie, where the sack separates from his internal bugs, which quickly forms a flying swarm from which Jack has to run. Meanwhile, Oogie lies as a pile of fabric and laughs, which that sounds terrifying and weird. Another version has the two facing off with maces, which I totally looked up what a mace was. I was like, a mace?
This little spiky ball on a...
Yeah, well, I mean, you know everything, but I don't. So for other people, yeah, it's not always a ball, but it's basically the stick with a spiky, pointy ends. Yeah. I mean, it looks awful. But yeah, so anyways, Jack and Oogie facing off with maces, and a very anticlimactic conclusion of Oogie just like tripping into a hot vat of whatever.
Yeah.
You know, by far the most like challenging plot line that they kind of came up with was one in which Sally's creator, Dr. Finkelstein, was Oogie Boogie all along.
Yeah.
And then in like a very typical like Scooby-Doo fashion, like unmasks himself and like is like ta-da, basically.
Yeah, it was me all along.
Yeah, and basically and they're like talking over there, so they're like, why would he even care and want to destroy these holidays and murder Santa? And basically they're like, oh, it's because he's angry that Sally isn't subservient, and you know, she's his creation, but she loves Jack. So he would basically get super mad and be like, but she loves you, Jack, you obvious twit. That was going to be the line.
But why not just do it as himself then?
Yeah, I'm so glad it didn't.
Yeah, the ending it had was fine.
I loved the ending that it had. It was totally good. I think I'm so glad. And that's why Tim Burton got so mad and put a hole through the wall.
Yeah.
Like, legit kicked a hole through the wall and was like, absolutely not. Basically, like, shut up and stop trying to ruin this movie.
Yep.
But because Tim Burton was a little bit of a legend, the crew just cut that part of the wall out and was like, Tim Burton's foot was here.
Yeah.
So, you know, I thought that was funny.
For one of the rare moments he was on set.
Yeah. So, clearly that ending would have just made no sense whatsoever. So, and then I wanted to talk about the soundtrack, because for those who haven't listened to it, it's a bit different from the movie. And I'm not gonna lie, like, I really didn't quite. I listened to this soundtrack so many times.
Yep.
So many. Like, I've by far listened to the soundtrack more than I've ever watched the movie.
Sure.
Just because I would listen to it, like, when I was in the car or when I was doing homework, like, stuff like that. Like, I love the soundtrack. So I didn't quite realize how different parts of it was until, like, really reading what they pointed out, because it just didn't quite click. Like, I'm so used to hearing the soundtrack that I just know it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what happens is that the soundtrack actually is more of like an extended version of the opening narration, and then it has an outro that's not included in the movie. So for those who have seen the movie, haven't seen the movie, whatever, the intro in the movie, the narrator says, "'Twas a long time ago, longer now than it seems, in a place that perhaps you've seen in your dreams. For the story that you are about to be told took place with the holiday worlds of old. Now you've probably wondered where holidays come from. If you haven't, I'd say it's time you've begun." Which then I can, know all the rest of the song in my head.
Yeah.
But in the soundtrack, it actually continues on from there. So in the soundtrack, but not in the movie, you get the second verse, which is, "For holidays are the result of much fuss and hard work for the worlds that create them for us. Well, you see now, quite simply, that's all that they do, making one unique holiday especially for you. But once a calamity ever so great occurred when two holidays met by mistake." So originally, even for the movie, Patrick Stewart was actually the one who...
He did the narration.
Yep. However, his narration didn't make it into the movie.
It did not.
His narration is only in the soundtrack.
Right.
So the narration in the movie is actually done by Ed Ivory, who plays Santa Claus.
Okay.
So, which is actually a bit poetic once you know what the outro is.
Yes.
So the outro is, kind of basically like what happened after this story that, I totally wish they would have put in the movie because it is quite nice.
It's a fun little story that they do in the outro.
Yeah. So the outro says, So many years later, I thought I'd drop in, and there was old Jack, still looking quite thin, with 4 or 5 skeleton children at hand, playing strange little tunes in their xylophone band. And I asked old Jack, do you remember the night when the sky was so dark and the moon shone so bright, when a million small children pretending to sleep nearly didn't have Christmas at all, so to speak? And would, if you could, turn that mighty clock back to that long fateful night? Now, think carefully, Jack. Would you do the whole thing all over again, knowing what you know now, knowing what you knew then? And he smiled like the old pumpkin king that I knew. Then he turned and asked softly to me, wouldn't you? Which I just adore so much.
I think it would have been cool if that was like a hidden scene, like an end credit scene.
I know, I love it. It was really funny looking this up too, because then they put in like little small comments about this. Like it talks about how like Jack and Sally are the ultimate goth emo couple, which I'm like, duh. And then they make like a little like quip about like they're not quite sure how they made 4 or 5 little skeleton children and how that whole thing worked out, which also made me laugh. But it's like we don't need the.
It's cartoons.
It's cartoons. It's fine. We just love it.
It's kind of like Cat Dog.
Yeah,
we don't have to understand all the logistics of how it all works.
Right, exactly. Now, Tim Burton has always been very like, we're not doing a sequel. Like, Jack's not going to go to Thanksgiving Town, which would be lame. Like,
Yeah.
I totally feel it. However, they have actually announced that there's going to be a sequel.
Correct.
So, in February of 2021, it was revealed that Disney Publishing is working on a sequel to The Nightmare Before Christmas, although it's not quite what most fans are kind of like hoping for. It's actually going to be a book written by Shay Earnshaw, and it's going to take place more from Sally's point of view, and it's going to take place after The Nightmare Before Christmas, and it will follow Sally as she navigates her new royal title as Pumpkin Queen of Halloween Town, and she accidentally lets a mysterious villain loose in town, leading her to visit other holiday worlds to find a way to save hers, all while making new discoveries about her past life. So Sally's adventures through Halloween Town and beyond have a projected release date of July 2022.
Yep.
So, I mean,
it'll be interesting to see if it stays just a book, because technically the Hocus Pocus sequel was in book form, and now they're in production right now making the sequel movie for next fall.
I mean, I feel like if it's a remotely good book, like, I mean, we're talking remote.
Yeah.
Disney will 100% find a way to.
Even if it's like Hocus Pocus 2, where it's just a Disney Plus movie.
Yeah.
They'll do it.
It just has such a strong fan base. Like Hocus Pocus, same thing. Such a strong fan base. Like, we're watching that movie.
Well,
even if it sucks, we're going to watch it.
Right, yeah, even if it stinks, we're going to watch it.
So.
And even if it stinks, we're going to watch it again after we watch it the first time.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm sure it will.
I think it'll get turned into something. If they're making the book, it might still be years down the road.
Yep.
I mean, it took years after the Hocus Pocus book and sequel for them to decide, yes, let's actually do this.
I just hope they don't venture too far out of, like, the stop animation and stuff. Like, I know they'll probably want to CGI it, computer it up a little bit, because clearly that's going to be where it's easier.
As long as they don't completely make it CGI.
But literally, I saw some places be like, oh, maybe they'll do it as a live action. And I'm like, please don't.
Yeah.
It's not.
And I'm not overly critical when they do sequels, when they do remakes and stuff like that, but there are certain things where I am like, you have to keep that, and stop motion is going to be one of the things I think they have to keep.
Tim Burton's world is just so hard to bring to real life sometimes.
Right.
And I adore, like, I think one day, like, we need to just do a whole episode on Tim Burton.
Sure.
Because, I mean, he's amazing. But like when you look at some of his live action things, and again, I do love them, but it's like look what they had to do for Alice in Wonderland and how much they had to CGI
Yeah.
the people, you know?
Right, the actual people.
Yeah,
And like I remember there, and I didn't dislike that movie.
it was not my
It's not my
favorite.
favorite by any means, but there's a point too where like the Mad Hatter talks about this dance that he wants to do,
The
and he'll
Mad Hatter
only do
actually
it.
was one of my least favorite characters
Agreed.
in that entire movie.
Yeah, and there's this, they defeat the Red Queen and all that, and defeat the Jabberwocky, and Johnny Depp does his little dance thing, and like it's CGI'd with him twirling his body while his head stays in place,
Yeah,
and it looked so cheesy and awful to me.
I was not a fan, but like Helena Bonham Carter, like didn't look her. She was all CGI'd.
Yeah, and the second Alice in Wonderland movie, they show you how her head got that big, but it's still like it's so cheesy looking.
Yeah, I just
And it wouldn't have been cheesy had it been like even just like a CGI total animation movie or a claymation stop motion movie.
yeah.
It wouldn't have looked so silly.
But
With
when
their
you
heads
try to
looking all
make like
funny.
real people look like that, like it just there's no way to do it without making it look cheesy.
Yeah, and like Johnny Depp's eyes as the Mad Hatter, all like this big like brown golden color, and they just look so silly.
It was not my favorite. Well, it's kind of like we went on our one Halloween cruise and we met Jack and Sally,
Yes.
and it's just not the same.
No, it's not.
Because it doesn't matter what you do, like you can't. Jack is so tall and skinny, and like Sally is just a legit rag doll kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like there's just you can't bring them to life like with justice. Like it's just not doing them justice.
You can't.
So
It's got to be some sort of animation. It can't be CGI'd or costumed onto people, like
No.
live action people. It just doesn't work.
it doesn't work. So I'm all for it, but not a live action.
No, absolutely not.
So now to end this though, the ultimate question is it a Halloween movie or a Christmas movie?
Yes.
That's literally exactly was my answer. Jessica, who I said was like, I don't get it. What is this movie?
Yeah.
She's like, is it a Halloween or Christmas movie? And literally my response to it was yes.
Yes.
And she was like, I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, it's a Halloween movie and a Christmas movie.
When it comes down to it, to me, it is a Christmas movie though.
Mm-hmm.
Because literally it's mostly about Christmas.
It's about appropriating Christmas, essentially.
Yeah. However, Burton and Selleck say it's a Halloween movie.
I mean, its overall tone is very Halloween, but Halloween's not really the focus point of the movie.
If I had to give it a season or
It's
a
Christmas.
holiday, I say it's a Christmas
Yeah.
movie.
I mean, again, it does fit for both. I mean, like I said in the quiz, or in the beginning of the show here, you can watch it all year round. But to me, it counts for Halloween and Christmas.
So did I at least find a couple facts that you didn't know?
Yeah, a couple of the voices. Like, I didn't realize Danny Elfman did more of the voice. I didn't realize he was Clown with the tearaway face.
Cool. Was that literally the only thing you didn't know?
Maybe.
Whatever.
Maybe. Yeah.
It wasn't fair to everyone listening to not hear an episode about Nightmare Before Christmas.
No, absolutely. We had to do it. I'm glad you did do it. It was a fun conversation.
I love Nightmare Before Christmas so much.
I want to go back to Chris Sarandon a little bit, not Sheridan. Chris Sarandon.
Again, 5 hours of sleep.
Yeah, But so, he's been in a bunch of stuff. But some of the notable things, he's in Princess Bride.
Yes.
He's Prince Humperdinck.
Yes.
And he's also a pastor who makes a deal with a lot of the vampires in Tales from the Crypt, Bordello of Blood.
Oh.
Yeah, he's like this evangelical pastor, televised show with his guitar, but he's actually made deals with the vampires.
Well, he's also Jack Skellington.
Yes, he is. The speaking parts, anyway.
Just the speaking parts.
Yes.
Although Danny Elfman is very talented.
He is. I love Doingo Boingo, honestly. Weird Science.
Oh, you would.
I would. And I still do. I do love those. Because there's even the movie Weird Science that had
Although
that song as its kind of centerpiece.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. Although Danny Elfman and Caroline Thompson, they broke up.
Well, yeah, they did. I mean, that happens in life.
I know, but I just hope that means Jack and Sally, don't have the same fate.
Well, you know.
It's just sad.
But kind of going too off of kind of the importance it plays in our life. You know, a couple things. We have some of the Jim Shore statues. Your dad got us the Jack and Sally.
Yeah.
And then we collected the Lock, Shock, and Barrel ones kind of as our little family statuary.
Yep.
And then when our oldest was born, one of our old managers when we were in the restaurant business, she did a painting as a little birth announcement with our kiddo's name on it and her birth date. And it's Jack and Sally holding a little baby skeleton child.
I know. That is literally one of the most favorite gifts that anyone has ever given us.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Absolutely.
It's in her room.
It's hanging up in her room now.
And I adore that so much.
Yep. And I've got a couple of shirts you got me. One of them is Jack with 2 skeleton children. And it says, "They call me dad because partner in crime makes me sound like a bad influence."
Yep.
And then you got me one that has 3 skeleton kiddos on it, essentially. Except one of them looks like a Sally kiddo. And it says, "Father of Nightmares."
Yep. Well, and over the summer, I made a shirt for myself that had Sally with little skeleton ragdoll children.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there wasn't one with just Sally and 2 girls and a boy, so I had to really kind of go through and edit and
had to finagle
it myself, which I feel like I did a pretty darn good job with. But so now I have my Sally shirt that has Sally with the 3 kiddos. Yep. So it has just a very special, fond place in our heart.
It definitely does. And it's very personal for us and very special to us.
For sure.
Well, that was fun.
Well, I'm glad you liked it.
I did, and we'll do it again next week.
Sounds good.
That's it for this week's episode of Ashes and Will Do Disney.
Don't forget we need your mouse tales. If you have a funny, weird, exciting, or just a favorite Disney memory, send it to ashesandwilldodisney@gmail.com so we can read them on the show.
And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Ashes and Will Do Disney. This is a public group to follow. We're also on YouTube at Ashes and Will Do Disney.
Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thank you so much for listening, and have a magical day.